On this episode of Movies Ruined My Life, two grown men talk about dinosaurs for 130 minutes. That's right, it's Jurassic Park.
All right.
Jurassic Park.
You good to go? Right.
Yeah.
Recording, so.
No, that's fine. Are you...
Well, now we gotta wait a second because you gotta cut that out.
Yeah.
You start laughing, and then like game shows do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So Jurassic Park, it's
It's a movie.
It's a movie about dinosaurs. What more is there to say?
All right. Show's over.
Have a good night.
Yeah. Okay, so I was actually really interested in talking about Jurassic Park because it's a movie that changed my life for sure.
Thought you had to love a dinosaur.
Taught me how to love a dinosaur again. Absolutely. You've read the Michael Crichton novel.
Yeah.
I've not.
Yeah.
It's actually over there. I should borrow it from you. I don't think that we understood how important it was when when the first Jurassic Park movie came out. So this movie opens up to that amazing scene with the raptor cage and all of the guys. Are they transporting the raptors?
Yeah.
Why am I asking you? I just saw this yesterday.
Yeah,
I rewatched it yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the one guy gets sucked in and you get that line, "Shoot her!" Which is funny because we were talking about this before we started recording, which was the that Muldoon's character. His first two lines are "shoot her," and they should kill them all. And it's so funny because he's kind of he becomes the moral compass of the movie in a lot of ways. And it is really, really sad to see him die in the movie. Which I thought was really interesting because you were saying, or you weren't certain, but I looked it up afterwards, and he definitely does not die in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% doesn't
I
die.
think he uses a rocket launcher in the book.
That's awesome.
At some point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good fact.
Why did you cut that out, David Koepp?
Asshole.
Yeah, and that's something else, too. Michael Crichton did actually write... he's credited as a screenplay writer, but he wrote the first draft, I think, by himself, if I remember correctly. But he kind of went super violent and super dark with it, and David Koepp kind of took a lot of that out in the later writing process. And it's funny because the first two movies, that David Koepp is part of the screenwriting process, they have a certain heartbeat that disappears from the series after that. Mm. And you were just talking about the Rotten Tomatoes score being similar on 2 and 3, and I think it's ridiculous.
It's a travesty, but we'll get into it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk more about that. Let's keep on the first movie. Let's really go in order here. So the first movie. What year did it come out? It was 94?
93. It's actually on the shelf behind you if you want to take a look at it. It came out in 93, yeah. And if that's not the case, we will edit it out and re-record
replace it with the actual
date when we go to break.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
And continue. Yeah, so it opens up on they're transporting the raptors, which, spoiler alert for number 2, because why are you shipping them in?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's a second island, right?
Yeah, although that's kind of that isn't the case, as you see later, because you see B.D. Wong's character. They're looking at the raptor eggs.
The hatching.
Yeah,
that's just all for show, though. He's just.
Or that's what's implied.
They explain it in the second movie, I think, at some point. But
yeah, but I still feel like that's just a bad situation of retconning.
Yeah.
But in any case, The other thing I wrote down, I don't. That's the second scene when the lawyer goes in. I know that it's completely serving as a setup, and they're digging, and he's talking to the diggers and talking about that he's already gotten Ian Malcolm, and that the investors are losing hope, and so they're going to go and get Alan Grant to do this kind of review of the park. And that line, when he holds up the mosquito that's been crystallized and says he's a digger, when referring to Alan Grant. Right up to that point, I feel like the movie didn't need that scene at all. That was the only purpose it was serving, is to show that they were collecting people. And I would have gotten that from as soon as they got on the helicopter and, oh, there's another dude here.
I didn't even remember that scene until you mentioned it. That's amazing how
insignificant it is.
Unimportant.
Yeah, and Spielberg doesn't make a lot of missteps. It doesn't happen. And I found that scene so weird because it just seemed very out of place and redundant as the movie progressed.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the scene where Hammond is going in and they drop the helicopter down. But first I want to talk about the kid.
The fat kid?
Yeah.
Fat kid. Get dunked on?
Yeah.
Gets scienced the hell out of?
Yeah. It's funny. The what does he say? It just looks like an overgrown turkey.
Big turkey?
Yeah. And then you see the disdain that Dr. Grant has for children, and you can see already the seeds being planted for the character arc of Alan Grant, where he, will be kind of a paternal figure to the children as the story progresses, to Tim and Lex.
Yeah.
But to go back, and that's great. And when he pulls out the raptor claw.
Yeah.
It's so good. It holds up perfectly to this day, and it's a great
not
precursor.
Not as good as the director's cut, where he slashes his stomach open, feasts on his innards.
Yeah, just to give a more accurate example of what would happen.
Yeah, you're not afraid of raptors, huh? It's just a better cut. But yeah, I mean, but I don't think that's necessarily fair, because who doesn't hate smarmy little fat kids?
Well, that's the whole point.
He doesn't hate kids.
Crime.
He just hates shitty kids. He just hates terrible kids that nobody would like. So.
Yeah, if you were a kid that behaved yourself, I'm sure that that Alan Grant would be your fan.
Yeah,
or at very least your friend.
That's kind of a like a cruddy setup, don't you think, as well? To make Alan Grant the protagonist off the bat, to kind of bring the audience onto his side before anything has happened. Here's a shitty fat kid that's talking shit. Let's school him together, guys. Let's I don't know. It seems like kind of a funny audience rally moment that
I don't know. I think without that element, you might not have had enough of a character development in the Dr. Grant character, because he makes the decision pretty quickly, which I don't want to skip ahead too much, but he makes the decision pretty quickly that he agrees with Ellie and Ian Malcolm, who's obviously on the very hard side of things, that this probably isn't the best idea.
But I don't know. I mean, I think it would. For me, it would have been nice to see that scene and just see him just see this kid school him. Just see this kid him being aren't you scared of raptors, and doing the whole claw thing, and the kid be like, no, they're dead. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
You old man, and just really have him get real frustrated and
have him
passionate
lose the war
about dinosaurs, but be I do suck, I'm kind of a boring scientist that
I
picks up
see.
bones,
So again, and then not have Tim and Lex follow him and want his attention. But
oh well, no,
have
they
it.
they could still, but I mean, I think there is kind of like an underlying, you're not necessary anymore, kind of a sense to a lot of the other scenes in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But because obviously now that we have dinosaurs, there's that they bring it up, I think, like 2 or 3 times in the movie that it's like you're out of a job, like
Yeah, sorry.
you're looking at their bones, like
We got real dinosaurs over here. You don't need their bones anymore. So yeah, Hammond shows up and he shows up and he opens up their champagne bottle, and there's that whole exchange of hey, we were saving this, and who are you? And he realizes it's Hammond. But that line, he says, "It's good to see that my $50,000 a year grant is going to good use." And at that moment, Alan, immediately his demeanor changes and is like, "Oh no, I can't lose this $50,000." Which even in '93, they had a 20-person team on this archaeological dig. Something tells me $50,000 isn't getting very far. They're shooting dye into the ground, are they not? At the beginning, that's what the computer scene is.
Well, is it? I think it's just like it's like a little emitter.
Oh,
little
yes,
sound
sorry.
emitter thing. That
Yes,
like
it was.
blasts out.
It was like a sonar type situation. Yes, I remember now. Because there's that whole thing about you won't have to dig anymore, and then Alan reaffirms that he's the digger line from earlier, where he says, "Well, what's the fun in that?" Or "Where's the fun in that?" But yeah, so he's getting $50,000 a year from this guy. So he goes quiet and listens to his proposal and whatnot, and agrees to do it. And I don't really think we need to touch on that scene anymore. Let's move along.
I don't know. I'd like to point out again that the director's cut where he just comes through, drinks their champagne, and when they ask who he is, he just smashes the bottle on the counter and gets the fuck out of there. Recruits some other paleontologists. That was a little bit stronger.
And then it was just so weird when they showed up on the helicopter in that version. Who the fuck are you guys? Oh, you're those guys whose shit I drank. Yeah.
I'm getting the fuck out of here. Yeah. I am rich. $50,000.
Yeah, it's chump change to me. I'm a billionaire.
So moving on.
I wanted to mention something about that scene, actually, now that I think about it. He has another line where he goes, he talks about the land that he bought and how he's leasing it from the Costa Rican government and blah, blah, blah. And it makes the park he has, or the land he has down in Kenya, meaning the island that he has in Kenya, what does he say? Look like a joke or something like that. And this guy's just going around collecting islands, and all he can do is give, $50,000. That's it. You own at least 2 islands. And apparently something that pertains to your life's work, or at least your life's work at present, $50,000 for you.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Although I guess he's probably spreading it around, like 50 for you, 50 for you. Like a grandparent to their grandkids at Christmas, Now, he owns this island. Where the hell is everyone going to stay? Is he just going to clean up on... Does he have hotels on the island as well? Obviously, you're not going to see that in the film, but in the book, do they touch on where... Is there guest quarters or anything like that?
There's guest quarters. There's like a full-on hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is why I should have read the book. But, from a business standpoint... If you ever could get people to actually come to an island, and just everything on this one island is completely owned by InGen.
Yeah.
Imagine how much, even for just a family that you could put together a very comprehensive discount package for someone, and you're still cleaning up. So, a lot of people make the reference that, this Hammond's a poor businessman. He sounds like the best businessman ever, because he's literally, he's built the attraction, the only attraction that would literally draw people across the world to partake in, everything that InGen owns, and experience a once in a lifetime kind of thing. So, fuck those people that say that Hammond isn't a good businessman.
How much do you think a beer would cost at Jurassic Park? That'd probably be like $28.
Yeah.
Like, for like
probably be like $50,000.
Yeah.
That's how much a beer costs at Jurassic Park. Then it cuts. Where are we? Yeah, it cuts to that great scene where you first meet Dennis Nedry. Yeah.
Newman. Great scene.
Yeah, Wayne Knight's really good in this film.
Yeah, fantastic. I like one of the strongest of the side characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real.
Up until this scene, every scene that precedes it kind of has this feeling of ambiguity. And I want to revisit that in a minute once we go on to some of the scenes that are further on. Obviously we're not going to go scene by scene. We're just going to kind of talk about some of the interesting stuff. But this is the first scene in the film where you meet Wayne Knight's character encountering Dodgson. There's that whole like Dodgson's here, everyone. And see, nobody cares, everyone in that scene says exactly what they mean and says exactly what they want, and it breaks all of that that cock teasing that's been happening up to this point, because you don't see the dinosaurs in the first scene, which is masterful, and you don't see a lot of the times. Obviously, we're going to get into that, but it's brilliant how they knew. Or in editing, this is the point where if we keep doing this, we're gonna lose someone. So we're gonna give you what's gonna happen, and we're gonna lay it all out for you. No one else is gonna know what's gonna happen except for you, the audience. So everyone in the movie is not privy to what's happening except for you, or rather, but you are.
Yeah.
And it's so refreshing.
I thought Barbasol was whipped cream for a very long time after that scene.
Because he puts it on the pie.
Yeah. like they'll never suspect it. Like fat guy with a can of whipped cream. Of course.
Yeah, of course he has whipped cream.
But one of the other things we've talked about a lot leading up to it is how this movie, and I really think this one alone, like I don't think any of the others of the series, is such a horror movie. It is a family acceptable horror movie. Those initial scenes are a great example of that. Where you've got the setup, like the audience privy setup of everything that we're about to see, and then it just lets the suspense build for a long time. That's very much like like your 80s 90s, and I mean even before then, kind of horror movie setup of just
Absolutely.
like here's the villain, the raptor, here's somebody scheming, somebody running the side deals here, and then bring your characters together, and then then just kind of starts with the building of suspense. From the get-go in this movie that everything is going to go wrong at some point. Like it's just a matter of when, and that's it's not something they ever really got back in the rest of the series. It could have been, maybe you can't get that same suspense again. For sure, I understand that.
Oh, absolutely. Once you have the reveals, there's only so much that you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when we were, and I'm sure at some point we're going to get into it more on air, but when we were talking about Alien versus Aliens, and saying, well, you look at the first film and Ridley Scott's interpretation on, how he shows the alien is very minimalist and suspenseful, versus Cameron's approach, which is very action packed, and obviously there's more aliens. It's in the name, and so forth, and the counter argument to that is always that you've already you've opened the Pandora's box. You've let the cat out of the bag. You can't start again, and you can't keep rehashing that same thing. But again, we'll get into that more when we get to The Lost World.
Yeah. So you've got here's your perfect setup. Now we head to the island.
Yeah, and there's that great exchange on the helicopter. Where Malcolm and Hammond are going at it, and then you get he turns to the lawyer and says, "I bring scientists, you bring a rock star." It's so good, and you have that just legendary laugh of Malcolm. I'm not even going to try and replicate it. I was looking for
it. Gold noises.
Yeah, I was looking for it on YouTube, and there's a guy who's remixed it and put it to like a deep south hip hop groove, and it's so good. But yeah, that's.
Hey, the little foreshadowing in that scene, the life will find a way.
Life will find a way that they then turn around. They have this beautiful line, and then they turn around and beat it to death for the next 2 movies.
Well, no, but in the helicopter when he's got 2 female ends. He's stuck, and then just ties them together.
Yeah, exactly. So good.
Right down to the seatbelts, all imagery, all symbolism the whole way.
It's so good. There's and in that moment when they land and they get in the jeeps, you get that that's not where you get the gates, is it? The gates come when the tour starts.
Yeah,
but you get the brontosauruses, right?
Yeah.
And what I realized as an adult that I didn't realize as a kid, I just thought that Hammond was being ambiguous for the sake of the plot. And it's the first time that I realized that both in the first film and again in the second film, he's being ambiguous for the sake of the character. And it's really cool because it's not a suspense building moment. It's not a, what are you going to find? Because we already know there's dinosaurs there. We've already seen a guy get killed. So he's doing it to kind of rain grant and in so that he's all the more surprised. He doesn't know what he's finding. Everyone's ambiguity up to that point is so integral to the story because you get that initial childlike awe out of Dr. Grant, which you wouldn't have, if you had just been like, yeah, come and check out my island and there's dinosaurs there and you want to see dinosaurs. Yeah, sweet. Of course I do. The other thing I really want to sidetrack for a second, and I know that I'm going way off here, but did you? When I was a kid, I had a huge crush on Laura Dern because of this movie.
Yeah.
Super huge crush, and I also
just universal of our generation.
Yeah, and it's like the energy of the character. I have to this day. It's like you see a woman in khaki shorts and boots, and you're just. I don't understand why that is an attractive combination. It's like you're going hiking and you're just completely utilitarian, but you look so beautiful because I saw Jurassic Park as a kid. She's spectacular in this movie. Moving on, where do you want to go from this, Devon? I kind of want to talk about the Brontosaurus reveal.
Yeah. And
the awe and the spectacle of that.
I don't know what Dr. Alan Grant is hyperventilating about. It's just a couple of bad CG Brontosauruses. Well, if I want to see that, I can go to my local technical college 3D art class.
Yeah.
Not that. But
at the time, it was pretty groundbreaking. It was pretty
impressive.
And also, I would be interested to watch back over the VHS version of that, which is just over there. I should have brought it out. Maybe we'll pull out the Lost World cover because it's got a really cool 3D thing on the front. The thing about this is, I feel like when it was remastered and cleaned up, and they re-released it for like a 3D video format and everything, I think it might have lost some of its grime. And I think, like we talk about a lot with music, sometimes when you polish stuff and clean it up and make it pristine,
it loses its
something special is lost.
Yeah.
And I wonder about that. But just the same, even with that in mind, whether it's 1993 or today, that film holds up, and holds up a lot better than the other films.
Yeah.
And just the mixture of work between, Stan Winston's team with all the practical effects, and obviously like ILM doing their thing just beautifully. As much as the Brontosaurus reveal, perhaps, and there's another dinosaur in that scene. I can't think of what it is.
Are there iguanodons? No, there's no iguanodons. What am I saying?
Yeah, but anyway, I keep thinking it's the Gallimimus, but they come later when they're back in the field, right? Let's skip ahead to the tour. Can we skip ahead to the tour? Or do you want to talk about something else?
I mean, the whole tour?
Well,
or just let's get in the
when they sit
Ford
on that
Explorers.
Are they Ford Explorers?
They're Ford Explorers.
Yeah, they look like Ford Explorers. I was curious.
But yeah, let's start from the beginning. Like, Hammond is planning on giving every single one of these presentations. He has cut a cartoon that specifically requires him to be there.
Yeah.
Like, I hope he's got 2 copies of that.
Yeah. Well, and
is selling himself into servitude for the rest of his life opening this park.
Again, to go back to the director's cut, there's they show the second version of that video where the video screen version of Hammond is reacting to the actual Hammond having a heart attack in front of the audience.
He's dying.
Call for help! Somebody help! It's a really morose.
Every 6th time, just in case.
Yeah, just in case.
But yeah,
if things go awry.
I mean, they do. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you on the explanation that lab is not the real lab. I think it. I think
it's a show lab.
It even like it seems that way. That these guys are doing all of this. So much. Science in this tiny little glass lab it's tiny, and people are watching them all day. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I refuse to believe that that they'd have tour groups coming through, looking at all their dinosaur secrets, like 3 times a day.
Yeah. Especially clearly when there's other people out to acquire said secrets.
Yeah. Dodgson got his ticket for day 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Launch day. Jurassic Park 2.
Now, doesn't
somewhere else?
Does Dodgson die in the book? I thought I remember someone telling me that. Again,
it's
you'd think with because he is kind of. He's such a minimal character in the movie, which is fine because again, it's got in all seriousness, this movie has wonderful pacing, wonderful editing, with the exception of that scene that we already mentioned. What do you think of Martin Ferraro's character, the lawyer, Gennaro?
I think he's probably like the most believable of the cast.
Yeah.
He's like the only actual dude. I don't know. I like that they've got just like I think you need like just a regular guy along there, and I guess he isn't really maybe not necessarily like a regular guy because he's not very enthused about seeing dinosaurs, which is pretty weird no matter who you are.
Yeah.
But I mean I think with all of these very larger than life characters, like a paleontologist who rescues children, like a mathematician that's like the most like suave, cool guy, an eccentric billionaire that paid to make dinosaurs. Like it's like you need a guy that's just like, I'm just doing my job, man. Like, I'm just on the clock. Like,
Yeah,
I'm on
yeah.
retainer. You just,
Yeah, it's
I
true.
gotta be here.
And I love when he gets kind of pseudo tough with Hammond at the beginning.
yeah.
You know, if my clients aren't happy, then or the people I represent aren't happy, then I'm not happy. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. You little, as he refers to him later, you blood-sucking lawyer. Which that's a great scene too, right? Where they're all sitting around the table, and you have that great speech with Ian Malcolm, which I'm not going to replicate because it involves me banging on the table. But
Package it and you sell it and you
Yeah.
slap it on a lunchbox.
and he actually uses the phrase "violent penetration."
Really?
Yeah, and I wrote that down, and
Of course you
of course I
wrote
did.
that down.
Violent penetration and rape of the natural world. It's like, welcome to the film, kids. But yeah, and then it goes around the table. Ellie says the same thing. You've got all these plants and whatnot here that are completely, you know nothing about them. You just have them here because they look pretty and they're actually poisonous, and et cetera, et cetera. And then the whole scene you're looking at that side of the table, and of course it's the first kind of long shot that you get of Dr. Grant when Ham asks him, well, what do you think? And he sides with everyone else. He agrees with everyone else that this is reckless at best.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. And then again, that's where he comes in and says the line about the only one on my side is the blood-sucking lawyer, which is so good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like the oblivious guy, the lawyer. I mean, you need, I guess what I meant to say earlier, I guess, was not the regular guy, but just the oblivious guy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
He's, he is the only one that really sees it as a theme park,
Mm-hmm.
Which, is what it is.
Yeah.
So it's,
Now, the tour, when they get into Ford Explorers, as you already pointed out, this episode brought to you by Ford. The best car of... No.
I loved that car. I thought
Yeah, I
the
do
tiger
too.
stripes,
Yeah.
that looks awesome. Or I guess lizard tiger stripes? I don't know.
What, on the...
It's got some green in there.
Yeah, and then they've got the window on the top, which is cool.
Looks great.
Very line safari prepared kind of thing.
Those cars, they did have a driver in the very back, like behind the back seats. There was actually a guy just kind of crouched down there with a steering wheel.
That's so cool.
I read I believe, we'll cut it if it's not, but
No, we're totally leaving
I'm
it.
quite certain it's the same guy who made the Batmobile. They've got like a shop that just does movie cars, and I'm quite certain I read an article that talked about all of the cars they built.
Interesting. That's really cool. Yeah. When they first go through the gates, and Malcolm has the line, "What do you think they're keeping in there?" Harkens very much back to King Kong, and I wanted to bring that up because, is this the King Kong of our generation, so to speak? Number two, kind of again, the monsters brought over per se, or Kong's brought over, but in this case, it's the T-Rex is brought over and breaks loose and so forth. There's several elements in the film that kind of call back to King Kong, and I wonder how intentionally that was done, or not even how intentionally it was done. I know it was done intentionally,
Yeah, it was.
But how much the joy of seeing King Kong kind of propelled a lot of these people involved in this film into just what very much appears to be a passion project on many levels, to just make this magnificent spectacle. Yeah.
They get out on the tour.
Yeah. They get out on the tour when, obviously this is when you see the storm coming in for the first time, and Nedry kind of hatching his plan and preparing everything, as well as he gets one final rant in on why he's a disgruntled employee, which is that he, of course, has money problems. And you have that wonderful line from Hammond where he kind of acts as a fatherly figure to him, and he basically kind of puts Dennis Nedry in his place, which is... It's such a nice moment, even though that's just the last... That's the one that did it. He's like, I'm doing it now. That's it. Yeah, and you get Sam Jackson with the cigarette in his mouth, almost like...
It's very, very, like, one of the last movies where that's going to be socially acceptable. Just a guy at a real serious job, like in an office, working on a computer, just smoking, like... 2 packs a day, just going at it.
And that, and I guess Terminator did that too with Police Chief. Good. I like that. I like it. For some reason it makes me think that Sam Jackson works harder. Like, I can't even take time to smoke away from my desk or even ash this cigarette. I've got to just let the ash fall into my lap while I'm typing.
I think you got a problem with fat people. Nedry worked. He worked hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's true.
It's a lot of workplace
I apologize.
discrimination they face. So.
Yeah, so...
Nedry's all around the world. Worldwide.
Worldwide. Hard workers.
Get together.
Represent.
So they go out on the tour. They get out somehow.
Yeah, they get out. It's like, I told you they should have put locks on the doors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You think?
Yeah.
You think that's important? Like, we have like one roller coaster failure every like 20 years, but Jurassic Park opening day, like, you didn't lock the doors. There's electric fences like everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere. This park is just a giant electric.
And you think
fence.
that there's no kid that's just going to jump out of the car?
Yeah,
but it's interesting. Too, because
why are there windows? Just
as much as we're saying this now out of the moment, we didn't even think about that when the film was going on. We were just like, "Yep, nope, that's good. Move along." Because the story's so great.
There's a crack in the fence too. They get right through.
Yeah,
you just hang out with a Triceratops.
Yes, and
that is, thank God, sedate and
yes.
Otherwise, this would have been a very short movie.
Now you were talking...
What happened? They got killed by a Triceratops. Oh, okay. Park's not opening.
And roll credits. Yeah.
This was a bad day. Not as bad as it could have been, really. So, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Shut down, retool, just a Triceratops incident. This is not a big deal.
No, you've already had one raptor incident that they just kind of wiped under the rug, so no big deal. That Triceratops, much like Dr. Grant says, is beautiful. I have to really take my hat off to Stan Winston and his crew. Because
the breathing when he like so lies good. On the side of it and it's just breathing.
Yeah, and he's going up and down. Well, I actually did that. That's why.
I gotta give some props to Stan Winston. That gigantic pile of crap that they put their hands into. That was some excellent, grade A poop work.
Yeah,
it's just
top of the line.
The
shit.
Kind of. Did he win the Oscar that year for best poop?
Yeah,
best big dump.
I'm pretty certain that he won in the best poop category. I know that they did win 3 Oscars for Jurassic Park. I don't know if I wrote them down.
And
they're all practical effects, sound related. Also, because Spielberg started a new company to handle the sound development for this. And it was like, or rather, the specific processing, rather not actually doing the sound work, but processing the sound, which is DTS. I think DTS, right? He likes the 3-letter ones: ILM, DTS, Amblin. I think he fucked up. He just got lazy. No. What were we talking about? We were talking about poop.
Oscars.
Yeah.
Oscars and poops.
Oscars and poop. Yeah.
I mean, it's always pretty impressive to see a movie of this sort of a genre. You know, it's kind of horror, it's kind of action, it's kind of like, it's a little bit campy. It's not extremely, I wouldn't say, but especially for the era in film, there wasn't a whole lot of, well, okay, there wasn't a whole lot of mainstream camp.
Yeah.
At the time. And so to see a movie like that get any Oscars is always pretty impressive. Like, you need to really bring your A game.
It's not as commonplace or it wasn't rather in 93 as it is today.
Yeah.
And that's a very good point.
So they're on the tour. They stop, Ellie disappears at that point.
She goes back with the doctor whose name I can't recall.
He's got a hell of a mustache on that guy.
Harding, right? Dr. Harding?
Yeah.
Because he's got a bigger role in the book again, yes?
Yeah, absolutely.
And does he die, or does he make it? We're just going to do that with every minor character.
A very good question, but I have no idea. I can't recall.
I'm just going to keep asking you.
But they get up to the Tyrannosaurus paddock and they decide to take a 7-hour break. So just hold it there, just chill out there in front of the most dangerous one for a while while this hurricane blows over. Just stay by the most dangerous dinosaur.
Well, admittedly, they didn't know that Nedry was gonna
screw the power on them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think this is a good point to stop going shot for shot and just kind of go.
I want to go one more shot for shot in all seriousness, because we have to talk about this. The Tyrannosaurus reveal
in the movie, I think.
Yeah, really. the definitely the most impacting. First, you get the water, the ripples in the water, and then you get the sheep limb next, or the lamb limb next.
Yeah,
and then it reveals the head, and again, just masterful work. A lot of people have griped on that scene about the fact that where is the T-Rex standing, because later on,
because they drop right down like a 60-foot drop.
But again, when you're watching it,
it
doesn't matter. So stop asking, because it doesn't fucking matter.
He's in the tree. He climbed up. What?
He's really good at climbing.
He's got those nimble arms.
And we keep saying she's in the tree.
Yeah.
And she's a badass chick. But that stupid Lex with her stupid flashlight. And I can remember, and even rewatching, every time I rewatch it, I'm mad at that damn girl. Just turn off your fucking flashlight. And was this the film that kind of made it common knowledge that in terms of, I don't think it was as well known that the T-Rex had kind of motion-based vision. I don't remember learning that in school, in our dinosaur unit that you have as a child.
Well, I don't think it's true. I mean, I think it's true of a lot of large,
like predatory animals.
Yeah. Like I mean, true of a bull. I guess it's the motion, not the the red that makes it go crazy. I think rhinos are very much the same way. So I think it's just an assumption.
Now, is that the rhino in the most recent Amazing Spider-Man film with Paul Giamatti? No. He has motion-based vision.
But the
oh, you mean the rhino in Ace Ventura 2?
Just rhinos in general. Just rhinos.
Okay.
The animal. Rhinos.
All right.
Rhinos.
I'm sorry.
The rhinoceros.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, I think it's an assumption. I think it's just like maybe, like, I mean, there's people that think dinosaurs have feathers. Who knows?
Do you subscribe to that, or do you not subscribe to that?
I don't think there's any reason to. I think it's quite possible that some of them did.
Yeah.
I think to say that all of them did when there's not really much proof to that.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody even says that, though. I don't know if anybody says that.
Well, yeah, they do. The character that Alan Grant is based on, Jack Horner, subscribes to that theory that they've evolved into birds.
Well,
and so forth.
No, it's very, very likely that they did evolve. I mean, you ever see a chicken foot? That's a dinosaur. That's all I'm saying.
That's a valid point, sir.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's entirely possible. But what I think about dinosaur biology doesn't really.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the T-Rex smashes through the glass, and that wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
That was a freak thing, and from my understanding, the kids actually legitimately freaked out as a result of that head going through the glass, and and imagine how terrifying as a child actor that would be. Just call the union, so upset. But it's just everything through that scene is so perfect I never understood as a child the whole Dr. Grant's got the situation under control rather, and then Ian Malcolm gets out with the flares.
I was just gonna say, you're talking about Lex with her stupid flashlight, Ian Malcolm with his goddamn flare.
Yeah,
I don't know how you can redeem yourself in the whole movie after that. He was the coolest character up to that point, and now.
Well, yeah, it doesn't make sense because. Dr. Grant tells them 2 seconds before that their visual acuity is based on motion. So 2 seconds later, Grant gets out, does the flare thing, throws it. The T-Rex is following it. Just chill. What are you doing? But on the flip side of that, I don't think it completely destroys him as noble. I think it destroys him as intelligent because his nobility goes through the roof because the thing that he says is get the kids, and implying to save the three of them. So his nobility goes up, his intelligence drops significantly for me. But the character's already done so much groundwork between that great water scene and the laughs that, just everything that he could have at that point he could have just gone full Monty. And done, in the movie, and they show it, and I'd still love Goldblum's performance, and I would have, said it was daring if that was the case.
Be another Oscar coming. Make it 4.
Yeah, make it 4. Best dong.
Best dong hang. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's probably the best scene in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's and maybe. Another one that's very horror movie-esque, but just much earlier than you normally get. It's just payoff, right,
Yeah.
Not even halfway in. It's probably about halfway in.
Yeah.
Here's your monster. Here's your bad guy. Go.
Yeah, and that's amazing that Spielberg really controls the show to that extent. You don't even realize that you're barely seeing any dinosaurs up until that point. So, as you suggested, I agree we should go off this whole shot-for-shot thing because we'll be here for the next day and a half if that's the case. But let's keep on the scenes thing for a second. What other scenes do you love? I want to talk quickly about the Muldoon death.
I think that would probably be the second best. That's nightmares for years. God.
Yeah.
Just he's, when he's, and I really love that moment of realization where he knows he's been played.
Yeah.
And he's just gives it respect.
Yeah,
the last words out of his mouth are not, fuck my life. Yeah. Fucking raptors. Yeah. It's clever girl.
Yeah, clever girl. Yes,
really smart.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting because they, again, in Grant's speech at the beginning, they foreshadow that because he explains their hunting technique to the fat kid that he slashes up in the director's cut. Yeah.
But yeah, it's that whole they get to the raptor pen, they see that the fence is all screwed up, and they know that they have to go through this woods.
Yeah.
Just what a horrifying prospect.
Exactly.
Just absolutely absolutely terrifying. And it continues. Like, that suspense doesn't drop either. It's like he gets killed, and then it just keeps like,
going.
I mean,
with Ellie running from the raptors and so forth, and even though it slows the pace for a second, you get the Sam Jackson limb.
Oh God!
Yeah, which is so good. Just because
oh, Mr. Arnold.
Yes, Mr. Arnold. Me. Mr. Arnold. Yes, sorry, I blanked out on the name there. Yeah.
Oh, you scared the. Oh, it's an R.
And all of a sudden, you're back in a horror film.
Why did they send Sam Jackson? Why didn't they send Muldoon like right off the bat? I mean, I guess they didn't know the Raptors were out, right?
No, I think it's because it's kind of a horror movie, and he's not a white female.
Uh-oh.
No,
Spielberg.
Yeah, I think.
Come on.
I think you're like, wait a second. We have to resolve this horror cliche right now.
I would have liked to see Sam Jackson make it the whole way. Get these motherfucking dinosaurs off my
motherfucking island. Yeah. Yeah.
That was the running title, was Dinosaurs on an Island.
Yes.
Little known fact. Snakes on a Plane is a sequel, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean that definitely I would say is probably the second best. I think the one thing I don't like about the Raptors that I do like about the T-Rex is the use of practical props. They did use practical Raptors a bit.
But they
interspersed them just too much, and it was just silly. The one scene where Ellie she like closes the fence door or whatever right on a raptor, that is an awful looking raptor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a terrible looking raptor.
Yeah.
And that kind of took away from the Raptors for me. Some of the
Isn't there a scene in the kitchen where you can see a human hand?
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
really?
There is. Yeah,
it's
just some guy's hand on a raptor butt. It's just copping a feel on that raptor.
Turns. It's got like the claw, the head, and then just like a hand with like a bottle of water. Are you terrified yet? They got him using.
Well, you got to fit the product placement in somewhere.
They got him using doors inside too. I don't know. I just didn't like the Raptors. I like T-Rex. He's a good big dumb.
But that's the whole point.
Bad guy.
T-Rex isn't a villain. T-Rex is an anti-hero.
Yeah,
and there's a big difference.
True enough.
Because in that the climax of the film, which I actually wrote down a note. I was just looking at it instead of writing Deus Ex Machina, I wrote T-Rex Ex Machina.
T-Rex Machina?
Yeah, exactly. It's the moment with the raptor, and it's about to get Tim after you've beaten the shit out of Tim in every way possible.
Yeah, that kid does
he gets his leg caught. He gets electrocuted. He
gets stuck in the log, doesn't he?
Or
no, they all just kind of chill behind a log.
Yeah.
Is it Gallimimus?
Yeah, Gallimimus. Yeah. And he's limping along, poor kid. And then they make him drop off of the suspending dinosaur bones, and he lands on his back. Poor kid. And then, of course, now the raptor's going to eat him. And finally, someone steps in here and says, "No, we got to do something." So by divine intervention, the T-Rex comes in and takes care of the situation. And you get the T-Rex raptor battle down that inspired generations of geek boners throughout the land. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a pretty good movie. I think it's it's a really rare example of a movie that really doesn't, save for maybe like one or two Alan Grant and the kid scenes, does not let the tension drop until literally like the last 2 minutes of the movie. It's like from the crescendo of the T-Rex getting out to the they're off the island.
Yeah,
like everything in between is just terrifying, just so stressful to watch.
Well, the tension stays up. I agree with you, but I think that they're such responsible filmmakers that they let the film breathe when they know it needs to. So you have that pace change, like we were talking about in the table scene, where it's that close-up shot of Hammond, and then there's one distant shot, and he's talking about all the things he's done wrong. He goes on to say, but I'll get it right next time, and then we get that shot of Ellie, and even there you get the camera shot, that the zoom in on her face, that again is a connection of, as you, the audience, that realization that dun dun dun, that this guy is still batshit crazy. He's learned nothing. His children or his grandchildren are in danger. People are dead. His island is in chaos. And
one of his islands.
One of his islands. Kenya's still good, but
that's another one where I preferred the director's cut, where he stood up, pulled a wad of hundos out of his pocket, and slapped her in the face with them. I said next time.
Yeah. Do you want this $50,000 or not?
Buy 2 Kia Sorrentos with that money.
Can you?
Probably. I don't know. How much is a Kia Sorrento retail? What?
I don't know. It's not on my notes for this film, ironically enough. Strangely, I forgot about that scene in the director's cut.
Yeah, he dies in the book, and I think it's much more fitting.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of silly that a man so just absolutely, just off his rocker, just crazy, just thinks, all right, like, not a big deal, just buy another island.
Yeah, no problem.
Start making dinosaurs again. This time do it right.
Yeah.
I like that we keep coming back to the $50,000.
Yeah.
And he says in this movie probably about like 8 times that he spared no expense.
Yeah, exactly. Except for on locks.
Yeah.
It doesn't like locks, and he also doesn't have a dino pooper scooper.
Archaeologists, I spare a couple expenses.
Yeah,
I do from time to time.
Yeah,
But
we can always hire more archaeologists.
And it is, I mean, you do. It's such an amazing movie in terms of the cinematography, the sound work, the way that they build suspense and tension. Yeah, that I think you do overlook a lot of these silly things that we're talking about.
Oh, absolutely,
completely.
Absolutely.
Like, we're able to talk about these things now because looking at the movie, after having watched it for the last, like 15 years, 10, 20 years.
No, I know.
Wow. But there are so many little silly plot points, like the locks, like the futuristic computer system.
Yeah,
it's just a bunch of blocks.
Isn't it a Unix? Doesn't she refer to it as a Unix system?
And it is actually a legitimate. There is some kind of a Unix build of the era that does look like that, where you just click on big stupid 3D blocks.
Yeah,
but
is that what they used in Hackers as well?
Probably.
Gibson.
They've got a Gibson.
Yeah, they've got a Gibson.
No expense.
Yeah, we've got a Gibson. These things are unhackable,
but
except for by Joey.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those moments that if you were able to
see, she should have just went for the garbage file. By the way, that's where all the important data is.
But, things like, they get right out of the car. There's a hurricane coming, but, let's just do the most important weekend of this park's life.
Yeah,
anyways.
No problem. Well, I think that
sending everybody home that weekend, Yeah,
like, I don't. I'm going to stop you there. I don't agree with that point. The hurricane thing. I think that is actually a brilliant look at Hammond's character. Because Hammond is so
jazzed on his dinosaurs.
Yeah, exactly. He's out of his mind. That he believes that Dr. Grant is going to write him a shining review, despite the fact that he's been caught in this torrential downpour and, nearly eaten by many a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the biggest weapon they have on this island is like a shotgun. It's like a regular-ass shotgun.
Yeah.
You've got a Tyrannosaurus Rex. In the book, at least, they had the good sense to keep a rocket launcher stocked. But
for the doctor.
But what are you thinking? You know, like Muldoon should have a cache of, like, he should have a tank. He should not be worried whatsoever. Like, power's out, fences are off.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just grab the tank. No problem. Don't worry, guys. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like, you were a billionaire.
Yeah.
Buy a tank.
Buy a tank.
Come on.
Learn your lesson. And still no tank in the second film. But none of this matters because it's terrifying. And, and again, in the movie, you dive right in. You're on board.
Yeah.
From start to finish, it's a almost perfect horror film. It's a very compelling action film, and there's definitely elements, strong dramatic elements in there that you see a lot of strong character arcs. Obviously, we talked briefly about Dr. Grant, children, and blah blah blah, and Hammond, of course, learns nothing. Sam Jackson becomes a human arm. That's a fantastic performance.
And what an ensemble cast, really. Yeah. To say the least,
They spared no expense.
Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, Richard Attenborough, Bob Peck. I don't even really. What has he ever done besides this? But whatever. I'll say his name.
Yeah, he's beautiful. Like, wonderful performance in this.
Sam Jackson,
Wayne Knight.
Like, just...
Even Miguel Sandoval in that small role with the other he's a digger, like just to break someone out that to say that of that caliber is so interesting. It's pretty amazing. Now this film's technically had 3 theatrical releases at this point. In its initial theatrical release, where are we here? I wrote it down. $920-ish million first release, and in the 2 subsequent releases, the third of which was a 3D enhanced version, they topped the $1 billion mark, and it was only the 17th film ever to make $1 billion. Just incredible. For the $63 million that they made this film for.
Did it create the wave of dinosaur interest, or did it ride the wave of dinosaur interest? Because I remember that being a very, like, there was a period of my childhood where, yes. I was subscribed to Dinosaur magazine.
Yes,
like same, that was
same comic books, the whole
the
toys.
Skeletons that came in the Dinosaur magazine.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's if it created the dinosaur, the kind of revival dinosaur period, because I guess it had, there was a sort of an era of children before us that that had a real dinosaur craze, but we went pretty dinosaur crazy.
Absolutely, more so than anyone else. Or more so than any other neighboring generation. Absolutely. The children of the people that were children in the early 90s, I'd be hard pressed to find one that isn't on some level just in love with dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think it's a good time to take a break. Come back and talk about the second and third film and get into where this franchise, at least momentarily, maybe fell off the tracks a bit.
To say the least.
I just want to remind everyone to visit our website, moviesruinmylife.com. And we're just getting started with all of this, so send us your ideas. What do you want to hear on the show? What do you want to see on our site? Get in touch with us. Tell us what you think. Tell us off. Whatever. moviesruinmylife.com, that's where you're going to find us. So we're back.
So
Yeah, so the first movie took place on Isla Sorna, right? The second movie takes place, or sorry, the first Nublar.
Nublar is the first one.
The second one, The Lost World, is Isla Sorna, which is the island that they either intended to or after the fact decided that they would breed them on this other island and wrote it into the script. I like this movie. I don't know. Do you like this movie?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of an ideal sequel formula where you just, there's no more suspense. You're not really, you're not really hoping for any of that. So you really do just go for the shock and awe. You just
go bigger. Yeah.
Raise the stakes a ton. Just many more people. Many more dinosaurs.
Much larger cast. Yeah, you're right.
A lot more to lose. And I mean, like we were saying earlier, very similar to the way that Alien versus Aliens was done, where it's like the suspense of the first movie you can't recapture. You can't hope to recapture that. Mm-hmm. So you really just you just have fun.
The end sequence of the film, the last half of the film, is maybe a little cheesy and maybe a little bit of an homage or a throwback to King Kong and things of that nature, but it's exactly what we needed in the same way that we talk about Aliens and raising the stakes, and you get the big guns and the big set pieces and everything. Because you can't do that small cast and the tension, and you can't do that anymore. The boat thing is going back to the raptors getting on the boat in the first one, right? Is that how that works? Which I think is that right? The raptors getting on the boat with the people who are leaving the island. And it's funny because they intended to originally shoot that end sequence in The Lost World as raptors. And I wonder if that hand on the steering wheel of the boat that's just hanging there, and it's that shock and awe moment that you get is a remnant of that. I wonder how far along in the production process they got before they decided to go in another direction. And I know it was Spielberg's call to go that way, to go with the T-Rex, to have, again, much in the same way that he said she was the star of the first film, to make her again the star of the second film. But I wonder if that, because it doesn't make any sense. You have, like you said, you have this T-Rex who's apparently gotten into everywhere in the ship, killed everyone, and returned to its pen.
I'm going to really surprise them. I'm going to scare the hell out of these guys.
Yeah. How does it kill everyone on the boat and it's still inside of its pen?
Yeah. It's just goofy. I mean, I like to think about this movie just without that scene, without that entire sequence. It really, I mean, I see that sequence in the movie as a massive, failure on what would otherwise have been a pretty perfect sequel. I don't know. I don't really care about the King Kong analog there and stuff like that.
Well, it's also a throwback because it's called The Lost World, right? And it's the scene I was just talking about where they changed it. It's actually kind of a throwback to the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle novel, where the Brontosaurus gets loose or whatever. That's what I think Spielberg intended more with that. It's just that it also parodies to some extent. And obviously there's also the Godzilla thing where you see the Japanese businessmen running down the street, which is, I understand it kind of breaks the suspended disbelief that, but at the same time, it's a fun moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think
it's a moment for the parents too.
You've even got a cast that's very similar to the way that Aliens versus Alien kind of stepped it up.
Yeah, and I want to talk about characters more so with anything else. Like the plot, I completely agree with you, but the characters are perfect. They're fantastic.
Like in the first movie, you've got a lot of you got a lot of very serious character actors,
Yeah.
who are trying to portray a realistic, how this character would realistically react to the scenario they're in. And then in the second movie, you've got just a ton of hubris and bravado,
Yeah.
It's just, and that's,
Well, it started a lot of careers, though, The Lost World. If you think about Julianne Moore, Vince Vaughn in a lot of ways, kind of got their careers, got an injection into their career as a result of this film.
It was a very early Peter Stormare. We both,
I'm a card-carrying member of the Peter Stormare fan club.
Stormare is the man.
He's the best.
And yeah, I mean, it's a fun cast. The first movie.
Who's the big game hunter? I'm trying to...
Pete Postlethwaite.
Yes, from Usual Suspects. Yes,
and yeah, I mean, it's the first movie was a very good cast. A very an ensemble, like every single person really delivers on a character role. The second movie was just a ton of fun people, just fun character actors. Like Vince Vaughn in that role, you mentioned he was actually cast from
Swingers. Yeah, from Swingers, because they wanted to use. They contacted Spielberg to use something that they needed a license for, and Spielberg said they could use it, and subsequently saw Vince Vaughn and thought that he would be great for Nick Van Owen.
Yeah, and I think it was a great. A great casting choice. I mean, again, for some fun. I'm not saying that any of the. I'm not saying that Vince Vaughn was a believable Greenpeace activist turned friend of the dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
But he was, he was likable and fun enough to keep you on side with, with some of the.
And the parody between him and Goldblum almost fighting for the alpha role, like exchanging machismo, so to speak. It created a really fun dynamic. That scene where Vince Vaughn's character Nick brings back the baby T-Rex.
Yeah.
And Julianne Moore is wrapping its leg and whatnot, and Mama comes calling, and. So they return the baby, and because there's a lot of before that, and I'm skipping all of the shit that comes between what I'm saying, and because it's bullshit, like the whole you don't answer your phone thing and so forth. A lot of it just slows the pacing and is we're gonna forget about it because we just want to talk about what's so awesome about this film. The scene once she gets the baby back and she pushes the Winnebago off the cliff, and you just see Julianne Moore smash down on that glass. Terrifying and awesome. Just such a good shot. Even just before that, another kind of macho exchange where Goldblum says, "Hang on to something," and Vince Vaughn says, "Hang on to something." I just said that. The whole scene is one of the pieces that I always look back on very fondly in this film.
Yeah. I mean, I think as a movie for kids, like a lot of people, like some of the things that I know people dislike about the movie, kind of the goofy dinosaur catching cars and stuff like that. Like that's the kind of thing that as a kid, how could you not be stoked about just this giant RV with computer tech and
maybe they were thinking a little too much toys oriented, but
but I mean
I can forgive that.
Those Mercedes ML SUVs. I was really into those for a while. I thought they were really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Lost World. I don't know. I had a model. It's pretty.
Yeah.
Even they stepped it up from the Explorers of yore, I feel. But I mean, it's how you have to look at this movie. I mean, it's a shame people do. I feel like, and probably a lot of the reason for the Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb scores of this thing is that people are comparing it too much to the first movie, which is like comparing Aliens to Alien.
Yeah.
You're not going to find anything, really save for what the bad guy is in common between these two. Even the character of Alan Ripley, who in the first movie is really just a survivalist, and in the second movie is like a vengeful, kick-ass alien fighter who's going to wrestle a queen alien in a robot suit. Like that's, but you have to look at it as just, let's have some fun in this environment, and they do. I mean, Pete Postlethwaite is almost like
Muldoon,
like a Robert Muldoon that just gets to have all of the fun that he wants to. Like, I think we should kill them all. Pete Postlethwaite's going to kill them all. Yeah. He's going to do it. I think. I think, like I said, like raising the stakes is something that I think is great for a sequel. Just throwing in a ton of expendable fodder, because the first movie kind of slowly builds to all of these deaths.
Absolutely.
And you don't get to really see this animal's power. I mean, of course, a T-Rex is gonna just beat the shit out of Gennaro. Of course, that's gonna happen.
Yeah, of course.
But a T-Rex versus like 30 guys, let's see that. I'd like to see that, and you do. You get to see that, and
30 hot guys. While you were talking, what scene popped into my head? And I was looking for notes on it, and then I'm just like, fuck it. I can talk about this because the raptor scene in the grass.
In the tall grass, absolutely.
I don't care what anyone says about this film, that is one of the most amazing kind of stalking scenes I've ever seen.
Talk about Spielberg shots. That overhead where you then see the little raptors kind of trailing in from the edges. Like you see the main group of people walking through, and you just see these little trails in the grass coming towards them. That is perfect filmmaking.
Absolutely.
That is... it's not the type of shot that every, some directors would have done it, from the animal's point of view.
Yeah, which they did.
Like that,
they only did a single that I can recall. I may be mistaken, but there's only a single dino POV shot in the first film, and I don't think that there's any in the second film. If I recall correctly, I think is it the Dilophosaurus? I think it's him that has this. Yeah, he's coming out in the first movie where he's coming after Dennis Nedry. And it's just a split second, shot once he's following him. Once he's decided to get back in the Jeep, and that would definitely be used a lot more heavily. And it's interesting because we were just talking about how this series, in a lot of ways, or at least the first film, is very much a horror film. My favorite to this day style, horror movies are all, for example, like the very first Friday the 13th. I hold it above all the others, and I'm probably in the minority, but I love it's one of the very first films. There are others that came before it, but one of the very first super successful culturally changing films that did a killer POV shot. And same with Black Christmas, with the original with like Margot Kidder and Olivia Hussey. Again, with the killer POV shot. And that would just be such almost a draining device to use in a film like these. And Spielberg never feels the need to just overwhelm you with this kind of that perspective on the stalking. He allows you to almost be a fly on the wall, and it works so much better. In that fucking scene, though, there is one of my most hated moments about The Lost World, which is my lucky pack bullshit with Julianne Moore's character Sarah has that stupid backpack that keeps somehow saving her fucking life. And even when Goldblum gets to the island initially, he's like, were you attacked? And she's like, no, it always looks like that. It's my lucky pack. Fuck you. Like I just no.
Really hate that pack, huh?
Well,
That
yeah,
much?
because in okay, I hate what that pack represents because that pack is like the Deus Ex Machina of this film. That it somehow has some kind of like we were. I was talking about how I actually love the T-Rex
Yeah.
pop in. There's very few examples of that device that I like in any film because it's bad writing, generally speaking.
More annoying than the Deus Ex Machina of a gymnastically trained daughter.
Yeah,
That
and
beats Raptors.
yeah.
I mean, you're harping on
That's
the pack.
no,
and
that's
I just can't
but
stop
that's
thinking about the uneven bars.
but that's
all right?
that's not Deus Ex Machina. That like again, and maybe the Lucky Pack isn't technically either, except for that the Lucky Pack is what saves the day. Like if it, maybe maybe even the pack isn't technically kind of that.
Doesn't it just get torn up? Doesn't
It's not divine intervention of any
it just
sort.
gets
It's
ate up,
just
doesn't it? Like a
Yeah,
raptor tries
yeah.
to bite her and it just bites the pack.
it just pulls the pack off.
Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, but
I don't-
it's kind of it's yeah. You're right. It's not Deus Ex Machina as much as it's like the gymnastics shit where there's that one moment where he sets it up and says, oh, how's your gymnastics going, Dad? It was kick off the team, like just so that they could cut to that stupid scene down the road. And the other thing that pisses me off is it's like you've made room for this character and pushed him and Lex to being like, oh, hey, Jeff Goldblum. Okay, we're off to not be in the film now. Just one scene where they hug and, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
Sorry about our grandfather's company treating you like shit. And and then they're never seen again. And as much as I gripe on Lex with the flashlight to a certain extent in the first one and some of her choices, but I understand that that's what they're for. You're supposed to be like, oh my God, stop doing that, you stupid kid. This kid is pretty annoying. And I think that even though the actor plays it the way it's written, it's just not as well of a well-written child role, which seems to, since the first film, they almost nail it. They get very, very close to just giving you two child characters who are exactly what the story needs. And I don't think that they do that again in any of the other movies. It's something that's lost. Maybe the kid in the third one is okay, but it's just because the rest of the cast is bullshit.
Yeah.
Or the characters, not the cast.
I think another really great element of this movie is the forces of bad and the forces of good kind of having to combine, to just get out of here. When the RV gets knocked off the cliff and Pete Postlethwaite comes and he's the one that helps them up.
Yeah,
the rope,
yeah.
And he's just like, well,
Yeah,
guys-
it gives
you
that whole
guys-
feeling of banding together for the greater good. That human element
yeah,
comes
like
into
you
the film.
fucked
there.
our camp up, but there's dinosaurs.
There's
to deal
fucking
with,
dinosaurs,
so
yeah.
fucking come on.
Yeah,
Let's
this
do
is-
this.
The paleontologist on his side of things is kind of Horner's real life nemesis.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
that real wild man.
Yeah, he's based on I can't think of his first name. His last name is Backer. Tim refers to him in the first movie when he's talking about books, and I read a book by a guy named Backer, and then but then this character Burke is based on him, so presumably like he's not him, but he is him, kind of thing. And it's so interesting that they're drawing both the Alan Grant character and Burke from real life dinosaur people, dino people. I don't want to go on about this film too much longer.
Yeah,
I think we've covered everything that's good about it. There's a lot of camp, there's a lot of cheese, but
it comes with the territory. And I think if you go into this movie looking for anything that you got out of Jurassic Park 1, of course you're not really gonna enjoy it. And that's very contrary to the book as well. The book was excellent. It was very much a continuation of the first, and it's very worth reading if you haven't. But it's just a fun kind of an adventure in the world. just turn it off when it's about 15 minutes from the end, and you're good.
See, I disagree. I love that ending, as I already said. So keep it on. A few other things I just got really excited as I was reading them because I can't believe I didn't bring them up. Stormare's death.
Oh yeah. Well, it's Hammond's death. It's
Hammond's death, exactly. Yeah. But the other thing I was looking at while you're talking was the USS Venture, because I keep referencing King Kong, right, and saying this is kind of, or at least I feel as though there's an element of this, that this is this generation's King Kong. That's the boat that King Kong came over in, the same boat that the T-Rex comes over in, and this is the USS Venture, which I think is really cool. Also, it's death count way higher in this film than any other film. That's the other thing that I love about this movie. And I wrote it down. I just wrote bloodiest.
Yeah.
That was my note.
And I think that's definitely something that that I think frankly you needed. Like, you needed to really see the destructive power of these things, because in the context of, 8 people in a theme park, doesn't really resound when it's like, a full team of people who are so prepared for anything.
Yeah.
They're still dinosaurs. You still have no idea. You're still completely out of your element. It really, it makes you, it makes you fear them that much more. The first movie you fear them because you don't understand what they're capable of.
Yeah.
The second movie, you're scared of them because now you know so intimately well what they're capable of.
And that's also interesting too, because they do handle it very respectfully. Mm-hmm. Not that they would necessarily need to be, but they do kind of very much, humanity should blame itself for unleashing this on itself. Yeah. And that's kind of a continuing theme. Now, this film, I encourage everyone very strongly to go back and rewatch it, because you're going to enjoy it. I promise you that. It's Ian Malcolm is always a fun character to pop in on. Vince Vaughn's character is fantastic. You get to see,
Poor Eddie Carr. The car expert you brought along, whose last name is Carr. Like, this guy's gonna make it. Him. Sure, he'll make it. The bald fuck. That's totally unintroduced as a character. Yeah, he'll make it.
Yeah,
sure.
That's Richard Schiff, right? Yeah. No,
he dies the most horrible. He gets torn in half by 2 T-Rexes.
Yeah.
And then they toss him around. They joke around about it, and they like throw him up in the air. Like, if there was ever somebody who you absolutely knew was going to die, it was the character of Eddie Carr in that movie.
Yeah,
the tech expert.
Yeah,
gone.
Yeah, anytime,
dog.
Yeah, you don't need a tech expert.
So moving on
to
I think in
Jurassic Park 3,
in a unanimous, I'm going to speak for everybody now, everybody's least favorite Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah.
And I think it really does still follow the trend kind of the Alien series. And why? And why? Because you already knew how that went.
But I want to quickly apologize to David Fincher for the one blemish on his film work that is Alien 3.
Yeah.
Because he had a lot of trouble getting directing that film, getting that film to the finish line, so to speak. Yeah. So as much as Alien 3, I agree with you, nothing in comparison to 1 or 2. I don't like to talk shit about Alien 3 because I'm such a massive Fincher fan, and I can still find elements in that film that are the early stages of greatness.
But here it is. Now we've raised the stakes.
Yeah.
We've brought the stakes up with number 2. Now we're going to drop them exponentially. And we're going to give you even less people than the first movie really dealt with. And furthermore, we're only going to bring back one character from the first...
Laura Dern's back. But this is Laura Dern's back. She's married. She's married to another fucking guy, and it's like you don't get married. Yeah, but she rescues him at the end as well.
She's barely in it, though.
Yeah, I know, but she's in it, so you can't say that we bring back one character.
And the one that you decide to bring back is Sam fucking Neill.
No, I disagree. When this movie was announced, when you heard Dr. Alan Grant was coming back, because we would have been in our early to mid-teenage years when this film came out. And... I was really excited when it's like, okay, I'm going to get to see Alan Grant on film again. And they gave you this glimmer of hope that your original hero was coming back. And then you get like basically the paleontologist version of Batman and Robin with that fucking Billy character, who's played by Pollux Troy from Face Off, who... He's actually really good in Face Off, so I'll take that back. But and I do like Alessandro Nivola, but you actually see the film, and it's the first one that isn't a Spielberg directed film. He produced it, and I know that Joe Johnston has done some amazing stuff. The Rocketeer, I love The Rocketeer, super under-respected film. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. What else has he done? He did Jumanji, which he did the last Captain America, or no, not the last one.
You're stoked
the
on
first
the
one.
Rocketeer, and you're about Jumanji.
Thank you for pointing that out. I don't know. I really I am. What are you talking about? The Rocketeer is completely worth revisiting. If you haven't seen it in a while, go back and watch it. It's a fantastic movie.
I think it harkens a lot more of another off-screen conversation that we had about this movie, which was 63 million to $1 billion, 73 million to 618 million. Why not make a third movie?
Yeah, no, it's true.
And just get it out. Just shit this thing out into the theaters.
They made it,
and we'll make our money.
Well, they spent almost $100 million making it. They spent $93 million making this film, and again, it recouped. It made essentially 3 times what they spent on it worldwide, but or more than 3 times. But they didn't spend in the right way, and the thing is that there's a large enough gap between Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park 3 that I think that you could have revisited some of the elements that we talked about, loving the tension, the suspense, the late reveals, all of these things with number 3, because it had been 10 years, and we didn't get what we were hoping for. This is the first one that's not really based on any, or it's not based directly on a Michael Crichton novel. There's a few scenes that go back, but and also the first film that obviously they use the John Williams score, but they don't. He's not handling original composition for it. It's actually Don Davis, who's the guy who did the Matrix films.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I just feel as though they missed the mark on a lot of stuff in this movie. That they first of all, they started with a flawed premise. They started with a flawed premise in that you have a kid go missing on this island after he's parasailing, is it, with his stepdad? So then the family has to get back together and con everyone into coming.
They don't even have the money.
No, they're faking it, and everyone just goes along with it.
Yeah.
If someone just writes me a check, even in 2000 or 2003, I would cash it first. If you're giving me a retainer, I would put it in the bank. I would wait for it to clear, and then I'm getting on your plane.
Yeah, yeah.
Or give me a certified check if you're so rich and you want me to.
Did they need to drug him? Really? Like he's in a plane. What's he going to do? Is he going to land the plane?
Well, did they drug him off the jump, or did they drug him after he freaked out because they were going to land?
I think he was already kind of freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
also the mercenaries blowing up a dinosaur drawing on a plane at the beginning, that kind of bothered me. because it felt like you missed the mark with understanding what number 1 was, and you missed the mark understanding what number 2 was. We never. Yeah. I don't like the big game hunter character kind of thing in the second one. Refresh my memory. I know we were just talking about it. What's his name? Yes. Because he wants to hunt a T-Rex. That doesn't matter to me. Or because he's this alpha male kind of thing. I like the character because of the cracks that you get later in the film in his exterior. Like you said, when he decides, okay, well, we have to help this other team, even though they sabotaged us. When he decides he's not going to come back with them, he's seen enough death, as he puts it. I think they miss the mark when they bring in these mercenaries who just think that they're going to blow up some dinosaurs. And of course, they get dispensed of super quickly. Good riddance.
Yeah. I mean, it's a waste of a movie, I think. I mean, there's so many things that you could have done for that third movie. I would have liked to see Isla Sorna falling apart.
Yeah.
How interesting would that have been? Like, they get to this island in number 2, and it's just deserted and shittered, Mm-hmm. All of the labs are just busted up.
Well, isn't that what has happened in number 3?
No, this isn't a prequel to number 2. I'm saying Isla Sorna when it was a working facility.
Yes.
And now the events of the first movie have happened, and this island is still a secret, and it's like all these people have to get the hell out now.
Yeah, which is what happened there. It's the precursor, what's supposed to have happened in between 2 and 3. Because there is all those abandoned bases and whatnot. There's and there's a stupid fucking scene where, again, they missed the point, where William H. Macy's character, he's like, oh, you got change for $1 or whatever, when he wants to buy something out of the vending machine, and then Billy kicks the fucking machine in, and that bothers me because I feel as though that can happen there. That's not a problem. It's that Billy is in the same, or should be in the same state of shock and awe as Grant was in the first one. Mm-hmm. So he should be taking direction on pretty much every action that he does from Grant. And then the egg should be the first kind of rogue thing that he does, is take that. So I think Grant should have been the one that like just says kind of Billy and nods his head, and he gets it and smashes the candy machine. I don't like Billy taking control in any moment.
What a bad side plot too, stealing the eggs. I don't know.
Yeah, and then using the stupid raptor flute, like the bone, to get away.
And anti-hero of the first movie, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Anti-hero, kind of bad guy of the second movie, T-Rex. Third movie,
Spinosaurus.
Let's just introduce a new dinosaur that's bigger for some reason.
And Spinosaurus was Jack Horner's call. He hates the T-Rex. He says that Spinosaurus would level the T-Rex, and so Spielberg finally, he probably just caved, like, all right, fine, Jack, I'm going to kill the T-Rex in this movie.
Shit.
Which is
just terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
there's not much to say about the third movie whatsoever. Honestly, it's a blur.
Another thing sorry. Another thing.
Can I just say one more thing? The phone ring in the Spinosaurus's belly or whatever.
Yeah, isn't that it's
fucking break?
It's Hook.
Come on.
It's Peter Pan.
Yeah.
It's Captain Hook with the clock and the crocodile.
Yeah.
You completely stole that, and you think that we're like, even as a child again. Or not a child, because I wouldn't have been a child when I saw this. I'm sorry. As a teenager, and obviously after they just made Hook in the mid '90s, and so we're all up to speed on the Peter Pan lore. It's not something in the shadows of our childhood. It's something that's been fairly prevalent in recent years. To just borrow that exact thing and inject it into your script and pretend like we're not going to notice it. That's not. And it's not done in an elegant way, the same way as the USS Venture, for example, in the second one, and things like that we've said have harkened back to other things. It's not done the same way. It's not done tastefully. It's literally, we're just going to take that exact thing and we're going to put it in this film.
Yeah.
And it's stupid. What I was going to say, though, is another thing that I was really excited about this movie, and it failed to deliver on, was flying dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And I know that was an element throughout the books, right?
Yeah, but I've always thought it's kind of a silly point, like, because it's like, well, the minute one of these things gets out, just shit's gonna get out of control, right? Like, you're not gonna catch a flying dinosaur again. It's gone. It's flying. Like, it's out of here. And so I think they were wise in the first two movies not to even approach that subject, because it's a fairly obvious don't do it.
Yeah.
You're building a park full of dinosaurs. Okay, not the flying ones though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Like, I can get behind that. But
they opened the can of worms with the Spinosaurus because they said, what else was InGen up to?
Yeah.
So,
I think it's a dumb one to bring up because, like I said, it's so obviously a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's so clearly an awful idea to make flying dinosaurs in this mythos.
Yeah. The also the family, especially the husband and wife, or rather the ex-husband and ex-wife, it's like they're on an emotional teeter-totter. Whenever William H. Macy is calm, Tia Leone is hysterical, and vice versa. And then they're always the opposite is always the rational, level-headed, lines being delivered. And the problem with that is that it on a basic storytelling level, you kind of want to have one person that the audience in whatever format can go to and say, okay, he is this or she is that, and I'm following them for this reason.
Yeah.
And again, that's supposed to be Dr. Grant. Yeah. It's not supposed to be these arbitrarily placed characters. And the same thing, they finally get it right with Billy, and they finally give him his redeemer. Mind you, it's stupid, but with the parachute thing and his death, just so that they can decide later on, oh, you know what? It's too sad if Billy dies. So let's film a scene with him on the helicopter.
Yeah.
And you ruin one of the few things that you did perfectly again. And there's just so many of those moments. And again, like, I know that everyone involved in this film has made good films. And I don't know, it's no different than if you put, a baseball team together of, all the greats, or a hockey team or what have you. You end up with the same kind of thing that it doesn't necessarily mean... Stacking the roster doesn't guarantee you a good anything.
But let's not give a director too much credit here. I mean, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, The Rocketeer, and Jumanji, frankly, are pretty idea-driven movies. They aren't really direction-driven movies.
Yeah.
I don't think particularly the cinematography in any of those three films was that great. The effects work was fantastic. The idea, the characters, and the writing were great.
Yeah, and you bring up an interesting point in that even the execution in Captain America, which was my last example, is it's not as good as the second.
Yeah, I mean, there's that
the second saved the Captain America
of the Captain America movie where it's just like
all of the action is in a montage.
Yeah. How could they not see that that's a bad idea? And so I don't even know if I give Joe Johnston so much credit for those successes in the past. And Sam Neill is fantastic, but he can't carry a movie.
Sam Neill is really good in this film.
He can't put this movie on his back and take it across the finish line.
No.
He was one of the only kind of other standout Sam Neill centric movies that I can think of is like In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah.
He's great. Wicked in that movie. Really. Huh?
Is he in Event Horizon?
Yeah, but I wouldn't call him central.
No.
He's a part of a greater
yeah, that's true.
kind of cast that kind of kept that movie together as well. Like I think
and so much so that I had to say, is he in Event Horizon?
Yeah. But
I've seen that movie at least 6 times.
But you also had Lawrence Fishburne, right? And the girl. There's some girl that was pretty
hot.
No, she was a good actor or actress.
Actor.
Well, yeah, it doesn't matter. Same thing. But yeah, I mean, he's as a central, crux character here.
Mm.
I don't know if Sam Neill can do it, especially not in this context. I mean, again, like In the Mouth of Madness, I thought was a great Sam Neill performance.
Because you're absolutely right.
But it did come more from the writing. I mean, it was a good story, freaky story that it was very easy for him to really really play up the gradual insanity of this character and kind of just all he had to do was experience scary things and be scared. Like that's not so tough. But Jurassic Park 3, he really did have to carry the action and carry the he had to be the moral compass again, and he had to be the kind of traumatized to some degree character from the first movie. And
almost like a grizzled veteran to a certain extent.
And the writing in the other characters wasn't necessarily there for him there. So it's like it's just not something that Sam Neill could really carry on his own. And I think a lot of the other people in the movie are fantastic, but not, again, like you said, like William H. Macy and Taylor Leone were just written awful.
Yeah, they are convincing in their roles, so much so that that I actually, when we were speaking about it yesterday, I was referring to them as Mr. and Mrs. Kirby. And I think actually Eric, the kid, I think he's great. I think that he's Tim, and I think when you inject Eric into the story, you don't need Billy anymore.
Yeah. And this is what happens. This movie is what happens when you have a multi-billion-dollar franchise and a dump truck full of money.
Yep.
Just let's get William H. Macy.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go out and get Taylor Leone. Let's go out and who else is it? Let's get Laura Dern back. Let's throw some money at Sam Neill.
But you just can't. You can't just throw money in a pile and have a fantastic movie come out of it. It's great. Yeah. A great example of that. There have been a number of great examples like that, but I think Jurassic Park 3, yeah, it recouped, but you know what? Coming off of a 73,000 or 73 million, 73,000 spared no expense.
Spared no expense.
Going off
did Richard Hammond finance this film?
Going off of a $73 million movie that grossed $618 million to create a $93 million movie that grosses $368 million.
Yeah, that's
a failure. That's not really a success. And going back a little bit further, a $63 million movie that grossed $1 billion. You could have gone up from there. The Lost World was not that successful of a movie. You could have taken this franchise to the next level, and instead you let it die for 10 years.
Yeah, which is interesting because this movie, its original title was called Jurassic Park Extinction. And that's what it did to the series for a decade.
So somehow we managed to speak for 851 hours on Jurassic Park. Yeah. And yet we spend an hour to 2 hours talking about some of the biggest franchises in history.
Oh, it's ridiculous. So if you want to listen to the last part of that episode, go to our YouTube channel, and there you can find our review. And it is more like a review, right? Of the last movie, of Jurassic World.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to this episode. Remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation. We want to continue it on with you, so reach out to us, visit our website, talk to us on Twitter. The hashtag for this episode, we're using Jurassic MRML, Jurassic Mermal, or you can just hashtag Mermal.
Jurassic Gerbil?
Yep.
Fair enough.
Yep. You can, if you want to hashtag that, we'll find you as well. So yeah, again, I'm at not Brandon Fleet on Twitter. You want to offer your Twitter up, Devon, or no?
At your_homeboy. That's YR. Your _homeboy.
Right on. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, or the podcatcher of your choice. If you're listening to us, you can find us on YouTube for both clips and reviews and all kinds of fun stuff, as well as on our YouTube channel. You're going to see some of the other cool stuff that Devon's got on the go. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you again soon.